How's it going, everybody? Thank you very much. I always appreciate you watching. My name is Orlando Ruiz Jr., and welcome to my top 10 movies of 2023. I already talked about my 10 least favorite films from last year in my previous video if you want to check that out. But this one is obviously on the stuff that I liked. These are the movies that I admired, or I just thought I'd like to see that again, or I wouldn't mind having that in my collection. That's pretty much the criteria for making this list. And please keep in mind that I don't consider any of these opinions to be the final say on the matter. It's just my own personal opinion, and if yours differs from mine, please go ahead and leave me your favorites from last year in the comment section down below. As a movie fan, I'm always curious to check out stuff like that. But with that said, I'm going to get right into it. So, my number 10 is a movie that had a limited theatrical release. As a fan of the theatrical movie going experience, I regret to say that I did not see this with an audience in a theater, but I did catch this at home on Amazon Prime when it came out early in 2023. I'm talking about Air. This is a movie that really surprised me because those of you out there that know me know that I'm not a huge sports guy, but I do appreciate a good underdog story, and I didn't know any of this stuff, and so watching this was an education for a guy like me. I did grow up watching Michael Jordan in his prime when he played for the Chicago Bulls, and I feel very privileged that I can say that because watching him was always exciting. This film is based on a true story, and it's essentially the story of how the Nike Air Jordan shoes came into fruition, and it's all because of a guy played by Matt Damon in the film, Sonny Vaccaro, who is a real life guy who worked for Nike back in the 80s. And I guess before that, he was kind of a gambler. And he's really taken a huge gamble with his job and his career in the way that he pursues Michael Jordan and tries to talk to his family in order to get them to sign a deal with Nike for the rights to put out his shoe line. We all know that Matt Damon is going to succeed, but it's really more about the process and the journey and all the little hurdles that he goes through, and it's very inspiring to see him just kind of put his job and his career on the line for something that he believes in. Number nine is a movie that I had no interest whatsoever the first time I saw the trailer, and I knew because I have daughters that I would have to eventually see it, and of course they wanted to see it when it came to the theater. But when I first saw the trailer for this, I had no interest whatsoever, and then I go see it, and I tried to keep an open mind, and in the end, I'm glad that I did see it because I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I'm talking about Greta Gerwig's Barbie, and Margot Robbie is excellent in the film in the title role. But what really kind of brought me over to the positive side, even though as a movie I did enjoy the movie, but it was overall Ryan Gosling as Ken, I gotta say. He was just that ingredient that made me grin from ear to ear whenever he came up on screen because his performance is infectious in the way that he's just so damn funny in this movie. Given that this movie is about a toy, it's a very special thing that this movie actually has the time to tell a story and also make me laugh, and at the same time, it has something to say on society and it satirizes our culture. I also really dug Ryan Gosling's rendition of the song Push from Matchbox 20 in this film. That's a really funny moment that whenever I rewatch the movie never fails to put a smile on my face. Number 8 on my top 10 movies of 2023 list. This is a movie that I caught on Netflix, and I am a fan of both of these actresses, Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman. Of course, I am talking about the movie May December. This is a very interesting story. What you have here is Natalie Portman playing an actress who is doing research for a role, and the role is based on the person who is Julianne Moore's character in the film. Her character has a backstory that is being made into a movie, and so Julianne Moore is basically staying in her home with her and her husband. She's been with her husband for a long time, and Julianne Moore and her husband basically hooked up years ago when her husband was a minor, and Julianne Moore had to do a little bit of time for it. And when she got out, she and her young husband had a family. Because you have this situation with this celebrity, this actress staying with these people because she's doing research on their life, there is always the little sense of, is something about to happen in terms of, is this when this blow up is going to happen, or is Julianne Moore's character just getting fed up because she has this actress always kind of inquiring about personal stuff. And so there's always this feeling of, okay, eventually something is brewing here. Catfight. This is the type of material that you used to see a lot back in the day while watching the Lifetime network back in the 90s. Lifetime television for women. And, watching television with my sister or my mom back in the day, you would have to sit through one of those movies every now and then as a youngin'. But this is a very well made film with a good quality production. The story is interesting. The performances are spot on and on point. Overall, I highly recommend this film. It is my number 8 film of 2023. Highly recommend. May, December. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is on Netflix. My number 7 on my top 10 movies of 2023. Number 7 is a movie that took me completely by surprise, as quite a few of these films did. This movie was directed by Guy Ritchie, who directed some classics back in the day, movies like Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and recently came out with The Gentleman and Wrath of Man. But I am talking about the movie that he came out with in 2023 called The Covenant, which stars Jake Gyllenhaal. This is a very good movie. This movie basically deals with the recent war in Afghanistan, and you had Jake Gyllenhaal, who is this guy that needs an interpreter, and the last interpreter got killed, and he makes friends with the new interpreter. I wish we would get more movies like this, because even though this is technically an action movie, because the performances are so strong and the dialogue is very kind of realistic all throughout the film, it feels more like a drama to me more than an action film. And Jake Gyllenhaal gives a very good performance in this movie. The movie is directed by Guy Ritchie, and so you do have an expert craftsman of a director at work behind the camera, a real visionary who knows how to tell a story, always keeps things moving. For action movie fans, this movie has plenty of action, yet it still has a good enough story to where you get invested in the drama and you care about these characters because they don't feel one dimensional. They feel very fleshed out, and they both have their own families, significant others, and kids and stuff. So you really do come to care for these people, and you just want to see them make it to the end. And it's a very, very good film that I really enjoyed. And if you enjoy that kind of a thing, good action movie, good thriller, whatever, definitely check out Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Number 6 of my top 10 movies of 2023, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is a great film, not just a great animated film, but a great film overall. Of course, I enjoyed and loved the first film. I'm very much looking forward to the next and final installment coming out later this year. This was such a good time at the movies. The animation is beautiful. The way that the filmmakers of this film were able to take a small throwaway aspect of the first film and expand on it to give us a whole new story and villain with the Spot, who has all these spots on his body that are basically like gateways into dimensions and other spider worlds and stuff, is really quite genius in how it allows our characters to travel through the Spider Verse. I personally am a fan of Spider Man 2099, so to see him get some screen time in this movie is so much fun. I think that Oscar Isaac did a great job in that part. I think what's really great about this movie is that while you're watching it, not only are you being entertained by all the constant Spider Man action, but the movie is constantly building to something at the same time, throwing not only so many Easter eggs at you that you have to kind of go through with a magnifying glass to spot, but it's also giving you all kinds of relationships that you care about. And at the same time, you're also having an experience that you can only have with an animated film. Spider Man Across the Spider Verse is a major win for animation, a major win for Sony, for Marvel, and for us as movie fans overall. Number 5, John Wick Chapter 4. This movie is almost 3 hours long and somehow manages to not be boring. The action is always constantly moving, the story is always developing, and John Wick's actions are always having some kind of repercussion later on down the line where things just get crazier and crazier. The cinematography in this movie is immaculate, the action is fun. Keanu Reeves always steps it up in these movies when it comes to the physicality that his role demands. It's great to see Lawrence Fishburne back as the Bowery King. I think Ian McShane as Winston is better than ever in this fourth chapter. The character of Mr. Nobody is a great addition, a very cool and complex character. Not to mention Donnie Yen's character of Kane, who is so much fun to watch. The story of John Wick going after what's known as the high table and running from the high table and all of that feels like a very natural progression from the last movie. And the technical side of this movie is incredible as far as the cinematography and the lighting. The movie looks incredible and beautifully shot. It's all just very exciting from beginning to end, and this is top tier action movie filmmaking. It is pure cinema escapism at its best. John Wick Chapter 4, if you haven't seen it, if you're into action movies, do not sleep on this one. In my number 4 spot on this list, I have a documentary film. I'm talking about the one about Michael J. Fox and his battle with Parkinson's disease. Still, as a fan of Michael J. Fox, having grown up watching him on Family Ties and classics like Back to the Future and one of my personal favorites, Teen Wolf, I have always kind of looked up to Michael J. Fox, and just knowing what he had to go through after watching this, the battle, constant battle throughout his life with Parkinson's disease. Throughout this documentary, Michael J. Fox is speaking to us as he looks directly into the camera while he tells us about his struggles with Parkinson's disease. And by doing that, it feels all the more personal and intimate, and also feels very moving at times when you see that through it all, he has not lost much of that charm and sense of humor. There's a great moment where you see him out walking on the sidewalk out in the world, and there is a woman that he spots, and he falls down and he gets back up, and she kind of goes towards him like she wants to help, but he has somebody there to help him. I can't remember exactly what he says after he gets back up after falling down, but he gets back up and says to the woman, "You knocked me off my feet." I think that's what he says, and then he keeps walking with his bodyguard or something, and it's just really cool to see him have that sense of humor no matter what he's going through. He's still trying to put on a brave face. But now he has raised so much awareness about Parkinson's, and through his efforts, through his foundations and charities, has been able to help to raise a lot of money to find a cure for Parkinson's. And his support from his family and his wife is all very moving. If Michael J. Fox can go through this kind of thing and still keep a smile on his face the whole time after falling down so many times, he gets back up. It is a great metaphor for life, and something that I think we all need to be reminded of. We just got to keep on fighting no matter what, and it is very inspiring. Highly recommend you check out Still. We are finally at the top 3. In my number 3 spot on this list, director Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm a big fan of Scorsese. I enjoy many of his films. So many of them are some of my favorite films of all time. And this is another great recent addition to his work of recent years. I think it's better than The Irishman that came out a few years ago. And you got Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone in a great performance. And De Niro's character is an evil son of a bitch. And it's a very sad story, but a very important one. This film, which is based on a true story, takes place in the early 1900s in Oklahoma, where you have these Osage Nation Native Americans that discovered oil on their land, and because of that, they are basically being slaughtered. DiCaprio plays a character called Ernest, who works for his uncle, played by De Niro as William King Hale, who uses DiCaprio's character throughout the film, basically for his own personal gain, so he can line his own pockets with somebody else's oil money. And there is a character in the film, Molly, played by actress Lily Gladstone, in a terrific performance. What makes this really sad and tragic is that the Molly character, even though she knows De Niro's character and kind of has respect for him, she has no idea what he is capable of, and has no idea that he is the one that is having her family murdered systematically all throughout this movie. Though the movie is dealing with characters that are pretty shady and unlikable throughout the duration of the runtime, it still manages to find the humanity in these characters. That's usually the case with a lot of Martin Scorsese's movies, with many of the characters in some of his best films having kind of a moral flexibility, and it usually makes for a more compelling and complex story. And I highly recommend this if you enjoy a good period film, a good crime drama. Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon, one of the best films of the year. At number 2 on this list of my top 10 of 2023, Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan. This movie is amazing. This is great storytelling. Yeah, we just have a lot of people talking in rooms throughout the entire movie, but it's the craftsmanship, it's the dialogue, it's the performances, it's the level of excellence behind the cinematography. Cillian Murphy gives an excellent and riveting performance as J. Robert Oppenheimer. Robert Downey Jr. is terrific in this movie as well as Lewis Strauss. I think he is a shoo-in for an Oscar nomination. You never know, there could be somebody out there that's trying to develop the next big bomb that could potentially do what they could have done in this movie, which is blew up the freaking world. As we all know, we're all here now, so that's not the case, but it is scary to think about. And you feel like you're a fly on a wall, and the events in the film are historic and just captivating. This is something that a lot of people should experience. It is great filmmaking. The performances, everything about this movie just sings. This is why we go to the movies. This is why movies are made. Do not count this movie out just because you think it might not be for you. I honestly wasn't sure because sometimes these kinds of movies aren't for me. But if you're into great filmmaking, definitely give this one a shot. Taking the number one spot on my list of my top 10 movies of 2023, Godzilla minus one. I love this movie. The story takes place during World War II in the 40s. You have a kamikaze pilot in Japan who is going through this PTSD. This movie doesn't have to rely on any other monsters coming in and Godzilla having to step in and take them down. It's not that kind of movie where Godzilla is on our side and we're fighting with him to take down some bigger threat. Godzilla is the major threat in this film, and his power is on full display in all of its Godzilla glory. And I'm telling all my friends, I'm telling family, this is a great watch to sit in a theater with people. And when this comes out on DVD or Blu ray, I definitely plan on getting a copy. This was my favorite film of 2023. Godzilla minus one. If you have not seen this movie, please check it out. If you like Godzilla, if you like monster movies, even if you just like a good period World War II drama, because even without Godzilla, it's a good movie on its own right. But then you throw Godzilla in the mix, and the way it's executed, it is just great filmmaking. Highly deserves my number one spot on this list. Thank you all very much for watching this video on my top 10 movies of 2023. If you're a returning viewer, I very much appreciate your support. If you're a new viewer, if you're into classic movies, if you're into this kind of thing, hit the bell, subscribe, and don't forget to comment, share, like. It all really helps out the channel. And look out for my next classic movie review. Till next time, everybody, peace out, God bless, and hopefully we have a great year in movies with 2024. Till next time, take care, bye bye.